and sent it off to the guys that read the names and said, hey, and as I was doing that, I was just going through making sure we didn't miss anybody. And I'm following right along with the yearbook. And I've looked at that list now hundreds of times, right, over the last few years of teaching. I've shared that list with students. Yesterday, as I'm going through, was the first time I ever consciously heard that there's a woman in one of those 116 names. Her name is Rose F. Puchalla.
Hi, Tommies. My name is Aisha, and you're listening to The Bog, Minneapolis Edison's digital collection of true and personal stories. We believe that storytelling involves healthy risk-taking and can transform the praxis through which we build stronger communities.
In a letter dated almost 67 years ago to the day, the United States military wrote to Mrs. Agnes Puchalla, "May the knowledge of your daughter's honorable service to her country be a source of sustaining comfort to you." Perhaps it was, but Agnes, like so many other mothers, had lost a child to the war. Born and raised in Minnesota, Rose Puchalla grew up with her single mother, Agnes, who cared for Rose and her 4 siblings. They moved from rural Minnesota to Minneapolis when Rose was young, and while her mother was a talented seamstress who took in work from tailoring to dressmaking, it wasn't long before Rose was helping to support her family. She and her sister Cora began working at Foley Manufacturing, a kitchen goods company famous for their food mill. But then the war broke out, and Rose must have watched as neighbors, friends, and family left town to serve. And she wanted to serve too. She wanted to join the Army. Despite the rumors about women who joined up, the fear that she must have had about what the stakes were, and the fact that she simply didn't have to, she did it. In April of 1944, Rose F. Puchalla joined the Women's Army Corps, as more than 150,000 other women would. And because according to the Army, Rose had maturity and work experience, they selected 25-year-old Private Puchalla for service overseas. Sent to Accra, Gold Coast in the fall of 1944 as part of the 1202nd Army Air Force's base unit that was assigned to the Central African Division of Air Transport Command, she was there until after VE Day, and by then had attained the rank of Private First Class. On May 30th, 1945, as she and 17 other WWIIs were transferring to a new location, they, along with a flight crew of 3, were killed when their plane flying from Accra to Liberia encountered mechanical problems. Despite immediate and large-scale searches for the plane and those on it, the C-47 was gone. There would be no survivors. This was the single largest loss of life for women during World War II. All on board are commemorated on the tablets of the missing at the North Africa American Cemetery in Tunisia. Rose may never have known what kind of a legacy she was leaving. Her mother Agnes may not have imagined either, perhaps because it was unimaginable in 1945. But what a trailblazer Rose was. For her, it wasn't enough to stay at Foley, where they were manufacturing supplies for soldiers' kits. It wasn't enough to volunteer to assist efforts on the home front. She wanted to join the Army, and the Women's Army Corps gave her the chance. Her efforts helped pave the way for women to serve in the years that followed World War II, and we can only imagine what PFC Puchalla might have said knowing that today all military roles are open to women, no exceptions. I don't know that legacy was a driving force behind PFC Rose Puchalla's decision to join the Women's Army Corps, but it certainly was an effect. We need role models like Rose and all the women who have made gains for us today. A sister indeed. Thank you for your service and sacrifice, Rose.
This episode contains material created outside of ETSN. To the original content producers, thank you for sharing and helping tell our story.